Welcome back to Cloudy Reviews Read Along. Today we will be going through chapters 11 through 15
of The Wheel of Time.
Chapter 11, Road to Terran Ferry. Our party is fleeing in the night, running from the Drakkar in the sky and the knowledge of a Fade and Trollocs trailing them. Rand noted how he did not think Bella could keep up at a run. She was for the moment, but he kept willing her on.
And I think that this is great foreshadowing about what we're going to learn later. The fact that Bella is keeping up, and she is obviously not in the same caliber of horseflesh that Cloud and Moraine and Land horses are. I think it lets us know that there's something going on here.
Yes, when Rand offered her up, he did not think they would be in this mad dash. So now he has been so worried she would falter. Well, they came to a small town called Watch Hill. The boys and Tom had hopes of some rest and food, knowing the horses were spent. But Land burst their bubble. Can't stop yet. Moraine walked through the horses, working some magic to wash away the fatigue. She did the same for the party, too. Land did make note that Moraine can do for people, but not for herself. Moraine walked up saying Bella was in the best shape out of all of them, and did not really need anything.
Interesting.
And out of nowhere, a shriek straight from a horror story blasted at her party. Wings beat in the air, horses terrified and rearing. The shriek caused the small town to go quiet for a bit, like the town held its breath, I believe the book said. Rand did pull his sword out, looked toward the sky for the creature. Does our young Rand al'Thor have a hero waiting within?
But he's also embarrassed, and he hopes that the moonlight has hid him from everyone seeing that.
Then after a bit, life slowly came back to our party in town, and they took flight once more. So I find it interesting that at this point while fleeing, we note that Egwene is smiling. What's the deal with that?
I think this is a phenomenal way that our author really introduces different perspectives. And Rand even talks about how Egwene sees this so much differently than he does. He says that perhaps adventure, for one who wants adventure, is seen very differently. So Egwene has already voiced that she is in for the adventure, and she's enjoying it. She's smiling along. It's like she's on an adventure, whereas Rand is cold and hungry and wants to be home in bed, and he never wanted this adventure. He was very happy and content with the life that he was leading in Emond's Field.
I think we are all on one great adventure right now. We fled one town, and we have finally arrived at the infamous Terran Ferry.
Everybody there is a crook.
The Two Rivers people have quite the opinions about these people. They say if you shake a Terran ferryman's hand, you count your fingers afterwards.
Who knows what they'll steal next.
So this is a huge river. They need to hire the ferry to cross it. There was a bit of an attitude about crossing it at the night in the fog. There was probably an unusual amount of fog.
Also interesting.
But Land produced enough gold to make it happen. Money talks.
Money talks.
Chapter 12, Across the Terran. As we head to the ferry at the riverbank, we catch a bit of Moraine telling Land that he must handle it, and something about he will remember too much as is. And if she was to stand out in his thoughts, just some little weird chit-chat to throw in there to overhear. The setting is dark of night, heavy, damp fog. As the group gets on the ferry landing, we get a scene where Land stands in an intimidating way, and our gleaming Tom performs quite a little knife trick.
He ends up cleaning his nails, y'all.
Our young lads, they try to do what they could as well.
They're trying to show that they are not easy picking for thieves.
That's right. As we reach the other bank, Moraine was kind of slick offering silver to the workers. This should buy them some goodwill if the ferrymaster had any thoughts of robbery, I guess.
Can we go back a little bit to while they're on the boat? I think that our author gives a lot of really great psychology lessons when Lan and Rand are talking, because Rand is familiar with how the Two Rivers thinks of Tarn Ferry, but he's still amazed that they actually are behaving this way. And Lan just really gives him some very sage advice, I think. He says, well, what men are willing to do to travelers is very different than what they're willing to do to everyone else. Because, you're not going to see a traveler again. They're gone, and who's really going to miss them? And then he notes that the fog and the mist, that if you can't see a man well, he's going to be more bold about what he's willing to do, because he'll feel more hidden.
A lot of times people do what they think they can get away with. I see your point.
Yeah, and I think that he notes that the ferry owner would be willing to sell his mom to the Trollocs for the right price. And I think Rand's really seeing that the world is a lot different than what he's used to in the Two Rivers, where everyone is such a community and they're willing to help and really just come together for those in need. He sees that outside of the Two Rivers, it's very much often every man for himself.
I think that part of the Two Rivers, though, they seem to discriminate against everybody else a lot. You're either Two Rivers or you're not, I guess. So Lan then paid the ferrymaster, and then something weird happened with the vessel of the ferry. Started spinning in a whirlpool all of a sudden. Lan made a comment about not being able to carry anyone else for a while. They paid him a bit more gold.
And I think that's another interesting synopsis that we'll see again and again throughout the story. Lan and Moraine might not be doing what we would think of as the right thing, but they always seem to have values or morals behind it and try to make up for it by giving extra money or things like that to the people that have perceived harm.
Well, I think Moraine really go by the good for the many philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
Then we come to some information that maybe she should have covered them a bit further the way they are going. That the fog went so far up and down the river, she had a good answer. That they would have to take the fog path seriously. The Drakkar are dangerous but kind of dumb, and Fades would know the cost it took on her. So this was planned to aid their escape the whole time? Fog created by Moraine?
It really seems to be. And she also spends a little bit of time telling everybody, look, I'm doing this for a purpose. My purpose is to see you safely to Travalin. And if I have to stop and explain everything I'm doing every step of the way, I'll never be doing anything but explaining. So just know that I'm doing this in your best interest and go with it.
Pretty sure the infamous Aes Sedai not really in the habit of explaining things to country folk. Well, our Lan, he leads them to a place for rest that he has used before with Moraine, a place made from washed up leather leaves. I had to research it. All I really found was some type of fern. Then I did some more research. I found another type of tree that some people say related to the Wheel of Time books. Here we get some information that the power Moraine used to wash away the fatigue, making the horses feel refreshed, and they will run till they fell dead. So more of a mental trick. I think they just didn't realize they are worn down. Our party heads in their little leather leaf hut, and Moraine and Egwene are sitting facing each other talking about the power, the male and female sides of how they work. The male is tainted by the Dark One, and the female one is safe. Randabout came out of his skin when he heard Egwene ask, do you really think I can be an Aes Sedai?
Because up until this point, it's been Rand's interpretation that Egwene is sort of just an added bonus to this trip. Whereas I don't think Lorraine does anything as an added bonus. I think she's very calculated in everything she does.
We learn that some have to learn to use the power, and for others, it will come no matter what. How some die trying to learn, how the Red Ajah hunts for men who can channel. Their duty is to prevent another break-in. Then Rand watched a Moraine perform an exercise with Egwene, try and use the power, making little stone Moraine wears at her forehead glow.
And Rand is hoping the entire time that Egwene fails. But
she succeeded.
Yep.
We'll return after these messages.
Whether you're going to or fro, we know you gotta go. Come on by the Terran Ferry. We'll get you across at little cost.
Chapter 13. Choices. So we're in the leather leaf hut. Everyone's laying down for a bit of sleep. Moraine is going around using the power on people, washing aches, soreness, fatigue away. Tom is not happy at all about it. When it's his turn, he just scowls at her.
And afterwards, I thought it was very pointed that she gave him a smirk. Like, you rarely see Moraine come out of character, so to speak. Like, she's always very, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, professional, but that's not really exactly what I'm thinking of. And
very to the point, on a mission, A to B. I see what you say.
It was nice to see her look at him and kind of be like, yeah.
After reading the series, read the prequel, and you really appreciate some things about her. Alright, so it's the next morning, and they head off. Time to keep the journey going. The three boys are already kind of homesick. There's some talk about making it back home. And we learned some fun stuff. We learned that Lan's horse name is Mandar, which means blade, and Moraine horse name is Aldib, which means west wind, the wind that brings the spring's rain.
And that's interesting because the Aes Sedai, the female Aes Sedai, they control wind, right?
Well, everybody controls some.
But I thought like the male half was more focused on fire and the female half was more water and wind.
Yeah, we'll get to that in not too long. It becomes a big little point in the story we'll get to. Well, they continue up the North Road and come to a farm, and Perrin remarks, "It's no different than back home." Matt said, "Of course it is. We were north of the Terry. We were just too far away to see." Perrin was insistent, saying, "I'm telling you, it's no different." Does Perrin have really good eyes? Can he see it from that far? Or is he just being logical? A farm is a farm. I think that is something really, really neat right there. I mean, every time you read this story, you might pick up on something, so maybe we'll get back to that.
I'm all about foreshadowing, and that never stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Woo! Good point.
Well, as they circle around, we find out Perrin was right.
Uh-oh, is he like Jesse and always right?
I don't know if I'm always right. I always have an answer. That's what I like to say. It might not be the answer you're looking for. It might be very vague, but I will get you an answer.
But what's our motto?
I do like when you say I'm right.
I mean, that's our motto. Jesse's always right.
At night, they would stop, and Lan started training the boys how to use the weapons they carry. We find out all of the boys are awesome with the bow, I guess, growing up. Shepherds, farms, hunting. It's a big part of life.
And I'm not sure if we've heard about it yet, but don't they also, like, around Beltane have a contest with bows also?
Yeah,
like, I don't think I'm ruining anything.
No. They talked in chapter 1 when they were heading into town. They talked about the Beltane post and all the games and contests. And
so I always got the impression that the bow was sort of like their choice of weapon in the Two Rivers, which made it even more odd.
It really wouldn't be a weapon. It was more like a tool, a part of life.
Which I just feel like made it even more odd when all of a sudden Tam brought out a sword. It's like, what? Yeah. Where'd this come from?
Well, we learned all of them really good with the bow, but Rand is really awesome with it. He spent some time with Perrin and the war axe, time with Rand and his sword. He starts talking about emptying the mine while fighting. And Rand was like, yeah, the flame in the void.
Duh.
My father taught me about it. Rand just kind of stares at him like, there might be more there, and really let the onion of Tam comes into play.
But he still calls him a sheep herder.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you gotta keep them in a place.
he does that well.
There's somebody that does it way better. We're so close to meeting. Alright. So Moraine would take Egwene away and talk, and it became a little daily ritual with them, especially at night. We learn in one of the very first chapters that the women's braid is a coming-of-age thing in the Two Rivers. Egwene was just deemed old enough by the women's circle to wear one. This would have been like every girl's dream of doing it. And Rand lost his mind when he saw her take her braid loose in front of Lan and Moraine and everyone else and made a big deal about it because...
Just like a guy thinking he's got anything to say about how a girl dresses or does her hair.
Well, he knows she is doing that just because Moraine doesn't wear one. Then Egwene said, Aes Sedai only wear it if they want to, and she will be one. Rand, oblivious to everyone listening, barks out, You are no Aes Sedai. You are not a dark friend.
Oh, shots fired, folks.
Uncomfortable.
Everybody I kind of get the impression that everybody just kind of like freezes in place.
I could picture Perrin mouth falling open and Matrim going, ooh, we're about to see a show.
Oh, that would totally be him. Yeah, he'd be bringing out the popcorn.
So we are getting back to, again, a feel for the tall tales and lore around Aes Sedai. They have been viewed so bad since the break-in, and Rand just threw a lot out there. Did he make an enemy? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Well, a couple of nights later, the boys started some talks about, we lost the Trollocs by now. For good. And let's talk about traveling the world. Moraine did not like how they all of a sudden were like, we're good, nothing to worry about. Let's go see the world.
And what I think nobody even mentions is Trollocs, maybe 2 weeks previous, had been like imaginary creatures in fairy tales to them. And now it's like casual conversation. Like, nobody makes that connection. I need a little, I don't know, a little more of a, hey, our bad dreams have come to life and we're dealing with it or something.
Yeah, the trauma is not sticking too hard right there. She made a comment about how she will destroy them rather than let the Dark One have them. That the Dark One obviously wants them and she opposes anything he wants.
And if that's not trauma, I don't know what is.
Like, hey, how can I sleep at night? You might kill me.
Right? You think it's in the best interest. Because like you mentioned earlier, she is all about the greater good for the most of humanity. She is looking at, the big picture. And if you're part of that little picture and she needs to get rid of you, c'est la vie.
Yeah. Well, Moraine and Egwene still doing their little nightly meetings away from the group. One night, Rand getting a little brave, snuck off and spied on them. And we get some really cool info about the magic system. This is what you were bringing up earlier. Egwene, we learned that the 5 powers, fire, water, earth, wind, and spirit. And men are stronger in earth and fire. Egwene asks that the men are the ones that actually broke the world. That they are the ones that try to free the Forsaken and Dark Ones. Remember in a prologue, we learned that Lewis Theron and 100 companions went mad and broke the world, but not trying to free. No, sir. They were locking them up. They were putting work in.
But I think she very much wants a clear black and white picture. She wants bad guys, and she wants to paint the male half of Aes Sedai as the bad guys.
Well, I don't know if she want to paint them. I think she's on the journey becoming an Aes Sedai. She's having some fear. She's like, I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be tainted. I don't want to be a problem. What I'm becoming, not the ones who broke the world, right? The men did it. And I have to say, I really enjoy how Mr. Jordan built the history. It has such a real feeling, and not just, this is what happened, kind of info dump. Let's put some info coming from superstition, from multiple sides, different views, then have it revealed to the characters the truth. It's kind of like a big lesson, not judging people based off of hearsay.
I mean, I am very new to the whole sci-fi genre or fantasy genre, but he is just an amazing author. And there's so much that he just he makes it look easy as he's building worlds, and just masterful writer. Any genre, he would be considered masterful.
He's my favorite author by far. So they're having a talk about the men and women with the power of the five powers, and Egwene kind of like, it's not fair. Men are stronger, and Moiraine kind of like, well, yeah, stronger earth, fire, but have you ever met a earth that wind cannot erode? Have you ever met a fire so strong that water cannot quench it?
And I think that's something that he comes back to again and again, that while men may outwardly hold the power, that there's a lot of machinations and behind the scenes thing that women are able to do, even if they're not. And I mean, he gives some women just overt power throughout this story, but even if they don't have a lot of overt power, I feel like he sets the stage for a lot of machinations in the backstage for them. Like with the council, you get the women's circle, and there's often remarks about, oh, the council thinks that they're running things, but it's really the women's circle that gets things done.
Very good point, though. The world is just so greatly built. There's so many sides. Well, Rand listening, and Moiraine all of a sudden eyes head jerked. She sent something, and Rand snuck back and played possum. Played asleep when she showed up to see what's up.
Played possum, I like that.
So, next morning we continue our journey. Our party finally arrives at Baerlon. This is the first city they have seen that is fortified. The simple farm folks are wowed by the big city. Moiraine gives a heads up about watch what you say, the dangers of dark friends and such. The Moiraine and Lan go by different names here. They enter through the city gate. The guardsman, Alvin, is it? Alvin? What was his name?
You know what? You can call him Ivan for all I care.
Well, he poked a bit of fun at our Two Rivers folk, calling them down country folk with hay in their hair. This dude is quite the character. I really enjoyed him. As Lan gives them coin with talks of not remembering them, the guys were like, no need for that, as he definitely made the coin disappear. You know, like, no, I don't need that, and taking it the whole way. Then he talks of the infamous white cloaks and how there is already dragon fangs appearing on doors.
And we've heard of dragon fangs before, but is this our first real, discussion of the white cloaks?
This is our first discussion of white cloaks. We heard of the dragon fang, somebody put it on the Wine Spring Inn door. We're like, well, who you gonna burn down my place? But yeah, the white cloaks have quite the reputation.
I mean, cult, anybody? This very much screams cult to me.
So the white cloaks are camped a bit away because the city will not let more than 10 of them in at a time. I mean, no place should willingly let big groups of a foreign military in their city. That's pretty understandable.
I kind of get the idea that he's sort of trying to build a white or a Knights Templar sort of thing.
Yes, I've always felt that.
But more than Knights Templar, I hear cults. I want to tell them, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
The white cloaks, they're passing through on the way to go after this false dragon we've heard about. And they stop there, rest up or something, you know. We get some info about our false dragon, about how he has a big following. And they're calling them the People of the Dragon. That's a pretty cool little name right there.
And I think we might hear it again later, too.
Well, our groups head away from the gate, going deeper into the city, and Tom answers some Moiraine questions over the city of Tyr, the people of the dragon, and the prophecies of the dragon. We learn that the prophecy of the dragon states, a sign is that when the stone of Tyr will never fall until people of the dragon come to the stone, that it will never fall till the sword that cannot be touched is wielded by the dragon's hand.
So much to unpack there. I think it's amazing how he not only builds a world, but he builds a world with lore and history and stories that go along with it. It's so in depth. It's amazing what he's able to accomplish. But I also think that right here, that Tom's able to have this discussion and everything, it should make us go, huh? He's a Gleeman.
But I mean, a Gleeman, they would be the ones to know the stories, right?
But he seems to know a lot about the city that they're in. I don't know. It just seems like again and again, Tom seems to know a little bit more.
He's definitely educated.
Yeah, like he's like Yogi. He's a little more than the average bear.
Ooh. Well, I mean, there are a lot there. So Tyr is the oldest city since like the Breaking or Arthur Hawkins or something like that, and it has never fallen. So you got to have people of the dragon to conquer a city never failed, and that can't happen until the dragon wields the sword that cannot be touched. So he got to get into a city that's never been conquered, but he can't touch the sword he got to wield, or nobody can. There are a lot of improbable.
Nobody even knows if it's a sword.
Yeah,
like they mention that later on in their interesting little bathcapade. Are you getting to that?
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right, so we arrive at an inn called the Stag and Lion. It's more than twice the ground space of the Wine Spring Inn, but people, it's 4 stories high.
But you know what? You know who's not impressed? Perrin.
I think he's put on a brave face there.
He's so cute. I love Perrin so much.
Well, they are sneaking the back way, and the workers like, no, go around front, can't do that. Then a big jolly fellow like, Mr. Ender, or what? I cannot remember their names here. Land and Moraine fake names.
Oh my goodness. It's a good thing that I was not with them, because I would have had a sip of wine in the common room and been like, Land and Moraine, here we go.
Woo!
Yeah, so I honestly do not remember their names.
But the big guy is Master Fitch, the owner of the Stag and Lion.
But interesting that you brought up the Wine Spring Inn, because it seems like, I mean, does Robert Jordan have a little bit of a, what would it be called? Stereotyping personality? Like, all of our innkeepers so far seem to be big, chubby, jolly men.
I mean, you manage a place serving food and drinks and everything. You got workers. I imagine they are partaking of their wares a good bit.
If I were in this world, I would want to be an innkeeper. Sounds like a cool gig to me.
It really does. And I don't know. Let's see if that little comment you made unfolds anywhere else in the future. Is all of them heavy, or will we see something different? Let's keep an eye on that. Well, we'll be back after this quick commercial break.
Traveling through Barrelon? Stop on by the Stag and Lion. We have the best bathhouse, and that's not lying.
Chapter 14, The Stag and Lion. We enter this inn, and it is packed to capacity. It's full of sounds of laughter and music. As Rand and the boys are led off for baths, he heard Moraine asking after someone named Min.
So these baths are super, super weird to me. There were 2 things that stuck out to me. Okay, so first of all, like, they bathe together, like, not like a Roman bath kind of thing where they're all in the same tub, but like an old West thing where there's a bunch of tubs there and they're all in the same room in a bunch of different tubs. Very weird. The second thing that stuck out to me is our boy Perrin, because apparently this is like a nice bath or something. Still very odd. But Perrin's like, almost as nice as the Wine Spring Inn.
That's our loyal Perrin.
Right. He's
loyal.
such a good guy.
After they enjoyed some baths, we'll enjoy them the most they can while trying to keep Matt from telling about the Trollocs after Land and Moraine said, keep your mouth shut.
Because, like, Matt never follows directions.
Trollocs. Let me tell you about Trollocs. I like that. Alright, so after the baths, they gather in a private dining room. And Land makes a comment about trusting no one until they make it to Tarvalin, and then there he will only trust half.
And then they were like trying to figure out if he was joking, but it becomes clear to them, as it already had to me, Land never tells a joke.
Land is about business.
Right, like, He needs a little laughter in his life, for reals, though.
So, we get some info about a battle in Gilladon. The false dragon won. Some say all of the Aes Sedai were killed. Some say they went over and joined them. With news of staying a couple of nights before heading off, our country folks are excited. They will get to explore a legit city. But for now, it is night and they need rest. Oh goody, another dream sequence. Yay. I will say this is probably the best one out of all the dream sequences to me, but I'm still kind of over them. And this
Flicker.
my worst part, but the dream sequences, like at nighttime, close behind it, not as bad. In this one, Rand finds himself in a stone room that has a fireplace. There was a man sitting at the fire. Rand knew he was in a dream but couldn't escape it. The guy asked Rand, "Are you the one?" and went on a tangent that the White Tower will use him just as they used others. Then he talks about events in the prologue, how he drove Lewis Theron to kill everyone he loved, how he whispered in Arthur Hawkins' ear, war with Aes Sedai, and manipulated him into sending his army across the sea. Is this the Dark One in his dreams? I think he referred to himself as Balsamon, doesn't he?
And I mean, if that's not a dark name, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's the Trolloc. In the Trolloc tongue, it means Heart of the Dark One. Well, I think the glossary says it is believed to be the Dark One. Then Balsamon made a rat appear, and with a twitch of his fingers, the rat bent back breaking.
Well, I mean, I guess he's not all that bad.
Balsamon then points his finger at Rand, and with so much pain, Rand felt as his back would break, then he woke. It was just a dream. He had thoughts he should accept Moraine offered of help with dreams.
And carry that energy right into what starts chapter 15.
Chapter 15, Strangers and Friends. Rand wakes and get up a bit late for what would be his used to type of day on the farm. Tom, Lan, and Matt already gone. They didn't even wake him. Rand took note that Lansword was not there, so he copied him and wore his sword, Probably daydreams of walking around cities with swords and all. But what does a growing boy need? A bite of breakfast. So he heads down to the kitchen, which would be the quickest way to get it. And heard the cook complaining to Master Fitch over something about her cat, maybe rats. A lot of rats, all with broken backs.
Well, I mean, and the cook is very protective of her kitty cat doing his job.
Well, everybody should protect their pets.
Truth.
He also learned that everyone is out except for one of his friends who is feeling under the weather.
But I think we're supposed to get the idea that the kitty cat probably didn't have a whole lot to do with those rats, right?
Yeah, the whole broken back and dream thing.
Yeah.
He does hear Tom performing the Great Hunt in the common room.
And in the common tongue, which makes Tom very unhappy.
Hey, you gotta give what the audience wants, I guess. Different groups want it different ways.
But Tom doesn't like the common tongue. So we totally get the idea that Tom is quite bougie, I think.
Rand stops by, checks on Perrin, the one who is not feeling well. Come to find out, all three of the boys had bad dreams. All three involved him killing a rat.
Dun dun dun.
Rand gathers himself to check out the city. As he stands there, he hears a young lady voice remarking over him. With his heroin-marked sword, the female is Min. She is pretty quick-witted and has a way with words. She knows of the Two Rivers people, known for being mule-headed. Min also knows Mistress Alice as Moraine.
And as we get to know Min, she's really not going to have a lot to talk about with mule-headed.
True facts. We learn that Min has a set of skills. She sees pieces of the power, pieces of the pattern. When she looks at someone, she sees things about the future. What she sees around them is an amazing thing. Rand, shadows swallowing sparks or stars. Rand is in love with Egwene, but they are not for each other. Egwene, showing the same type of things as Moraine. Lan, 7 wounded towers, a babe holding a sword. The Gleeman, a man juggling fire. The White Tower. Perrin has a wolf, a broken crown, trees flowering. Matt, a dagger with a ruby, a red eagle, an eye on a balance scale, a horn, a laughing face. This is just a bit, and she doesn't know what any of them means.
But as we move through the story, every single one of those things are going to become important to each of those characters.
Ren, she sees a sword that isn't a sword. A golden crown with laurel leaves. A beggar staff. Pouring water on sand. A bloody hand. A white-hot iron. 3 women standing over a funeral pyre with him on it. Stone with his blood on it. Most of all, lightning coming and going. And they will meet again. Ren heard enough.
And she was most confused, I think, by the end part. That they would meet again.
Might be his view of a dream, but definitely wasn't hers.
Right?
He left to explore the city. The streets were muddy. As he walks, he notices a beggar, thin and dirty. But, he knew him. The peddler.
Well,
Fane.
hello, Podon Fane.
Yes. Fane saw him too and dashed away. Ran gave chase. But he catch him in a little alley with Fane had nowhere else to go.
He thought they were buddies. What's up?
Yeah, excited to see him. Been wondering what happened to him.
Thought he was dead.
Left a cart and horses behind.
Right?
We hear his story of his escape that night. And then he rushed off. Rand lost him, but found Matrim Cawthon.
Oh, goody.
Found him by knocking him down into the mud. There was some talks about the shared dreams containing the Dark One. After some talks, they agreed not to tell Moraine.
Because, I mean, can you really trust her?
But maybe they could trust Tom.
I mean, you gotta tell somebody.
Now they have to get back and let Perry know what they agreed on. No telling the Aes Sedai, but we could tell the Gleeman we're kind of like hanging out with here lately.
But before that happens, who are they gonna meet up in that alley?
Well, Rand just noticed that he wasn't feeling all too well himself. Something not quite right. Not feeling great, not tired, but not all there.
Foreshadowing!
On the way back, good old Matt notices some Children of the Light, also known as White Cloaks, all pristine and walking with noses in the air.
AKA the cult.
AKA the type that just need their noses taken down a peg or two. And Matt is the one for the job. Matt takes off and uses a sling to hit a stake, causing barrels to roll down, forcing White Cloaks to jump out of the way, getting covered in mud. Well, the White Cloaks are not happy and looking for someone to take it out on. And there's Rand standing there laughing. Not a good situation.
Right, because, I mean, story of Rand's life. Matt's always causing trouble. And does he ever get caught?
He got away with getting out of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ren is kind of in a daze from not feeling right and whips his cloak back, freeing his sword. He's kind of in La La Land, standing there smirking, having a good old time, and says, accidents happen, even to the children.
I mean, strong words, Rand. Strong words.
I like your energy. That's big sword energy right there.
I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, the little leader out the group of children said, "You are that dangerous, youngling." And Rand noticed the guy really not that much older than him. And one of the other soldiers, Lord Bornhold, Heron Mark Blade.
Which is a pretty big deal, apparently.
Lord Bornhold probably gave a little look for a minute like, But then taking in Rand.
He's not old enough.
Too young. Rand knew something was wrong, but he rocked on his heels as the children were ready to escalate it till the town watch showed up. This is probably my favorite scene in The Eye of the World, Book 1. Every time I read this or listen to the audiobook, I cannot wait for this whole scene. Little country boy Rand standing there in a daze, being a little snarky with him, having a good little line. I really enjoy it.
And the only thing that saves him? The City Watch.
They're walking through and they got probably armor not as nice as the children, and people make way for the children. They got to push their way through. So, yeah, it probably could have got out of hand, but children, they just said, well, some people lost their way and left, got out of the area. And Matt, like, man, I might be crazy, but you're really bloody crazy.
And for once, I don't say this often, but Matt has a point.
So they head back to the inn.
Where they find Tom. So they get back to the inn and they tell Tom all about their experience and their dreams. And Tom's like, oh, we don't need to tell the Aes Sedai this, because I think we've already gotten the pretty strong impression that Tom doesn't really trust Aes Sedai. And so they hook back up with Perrin, and they're telling Perrin not to tell anybody, and he's like, but you told this dude that we barely know. They're like, we gotta tell somebody. I mean, we couldn't just keep it to ourselves.
It's Tom! You know Tom!
Yeah, Tom, he's our buddy! Anyway.
So, as they're talking to Perrin about how they told Tom about the whole dream sequence, Perrin
suddenly remembers.
Smacks himself in the head. I forgot why I was looking for you. Why was he looking for him?
Because guess who just made it to the inn? Your buddy, Nynaeve.
Our wisdom.
So, what in the world? How did she get here?
Well, the fairy got sunken in a whirlpool.
Well, I know you don't think something little like that would stop Nynaeve.
No, ma'am. She made the ferry master find a boat big enough for her and her horse, and only gave him enough time to get one other person to row her across.
So the ferry master himself had to row her across. Now that's some upscale bullying, if I don't say so myself.
Now, you know, Matt, being the smart guy he is, he's like, hey, let's go somewhere else and give this time to die down.
But, alas, Matt rarely gets his way, thank goodness.
And Rand, being the good guy he is, look, she should know after what happened, we gotta go. And if she can't figure it out, we gotta make her see it.
And then Tom is like, look, I met this little chick before. We don't give her what she wants, or at least talk to her. She's going to cause a scene. And the last thing they want's a scene.
So we end our chapter here with them on their way to meet up with probably a frosty little conversation with Moraine and Nynaeve. Or Mistress Alice and Nynaeve.
Let the sparks fly, folks.
We'll see y'all in the next episode and see what really happens.
Until then, may your wheel weave.
Weave on.
Weave on.